Hi, y'all. Welcome to day one of the Know Your Worth Challenge. It's so nice to see all of these faces. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am joining you from New York City, the land of the Lenape people, and I want to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging today. I would love to know, where are you joining us from today? Let me know in the chat. Feel free to keep your videos on if you feel comfortable. I'd love to see all your gorgeous faces. Hello. Hi to Carol. Hey, Angela. Hey, Carolina, Cecilia, Jacinta, Christy, Maya, Nikita. Hey, TJ. Hey, Anna. Hi, Melinda. Nice to meet y'all. My name is Maggie Palmer, and I'm the founder of a company called Pep Talk. My whole jam is closing the gender pay gap because it sucks. Can you believe we're still talking about this in 2024? But here we are. The goal is to close that more quickly together while we wait for business, government, and regulation to catch up. Because at this rate, the United Nations reckons we're more than 100 years away. And I just kind of think that's outrageous. And I'm not willing to wait that long. So I quit my job in journalism almost a decade ago, actually. I was a foreign correspondent in Australia, in Europe for the BBC World, for CNBC, eventually moved here to America, worked for the Financial Times, and started a side hustle, which was Pep Talk Her, which is now my full-time hustle. And my whole mission is to help support professional women, folks just like you, to earn more money and get promoted faster. That's my jam. That's what I'm good at doing. I've helped lots of people do that. We're talking 5,000, 10,000, 50,000 more in extra salary bumps, promotions, board positions, all of that good fun stuff. So that's what I do. I speak around the world on this stuff. I help support people just like you. And I'm so excited. I run this challenge once a year, sometimes twice if we have time, but definitely once a year. So I'm so glad that you're here for the January kickoff of the Know Your Worth Challenge. We're going to keep this super snappy. I'm all about like bite size. Let's just get to the point. Less fluff is good in my opinion. So let me know, where are you joining me from today so I can give you a virtual hi. Hey, from Sydney. Wow, it's early where you are. Welcome. Hello. Hi, Elenita. Great to see you as well. As I said, I'm in New York City. Shout out to anyone else who's in snowy East Coast America at the moment. So let's talk about the challenge. Hopefully you would have received an email that talks you through, the steps of the first day of the challenge. If you haven't, just comment below with your email and my team's watching and they'll make sure that you get that straight away. So basically, day one of the challenge, we call it the goosebumps text, right? It's all about messaging someone who you know, like, and trust, right? Someone who you respect, someone who has your back, someone who loves you, someone who wants the best in your career. So don't go texting your frenemy, but maybe text like a mentor or like an old boss, or for sure your best mate, or like your auntie, someone who you're super close to, right? And literally all you have to text them is super simple, just one sentence. So you can grab out your cell phone. We can do this collectively if you want. Just send a text and just say, hey, I'm at this seminar, I'm at this workshop, and this woman called Maggie, no, I'm kidding. You can keep it simple. You can just say, hey, I'm at this workshop and they've asked us to text a friend and I have to ask you one question. And the question is, what would you say is my biggest strength? That's it. Or if you don't like that, you could be like, hey, they just asked us to ask one question. What's the best thing about me? Like that's just something really simple. Literally one sentence, two sentences, that's it. And you're just going to text someone in your life. It might be your partner, it could be your roommate, your mom, whatever, your grandma, whoever it is. Now, what's the point of this? You might be like, what? Why? It's so weird. So here's the thing. When I was so we've been working, right, with a lot of experts around the world, lots of, Ivy League professors, academics, negotiation experts over the last almost 10 years developing the curriculum. And when we built the Know Your Worth Challenge, which is the free challenge that you're going through right now, I actually worked with an amazing woman called Bri, who's a behavioral psychologist, because I wanted to make sure that everything that we teach you is rooted in science, right? Because I'm into facts. I'm an old journalist, right? So I love like facts and figures, and I want to know the data adds up and backs it up. So here's the thing. Humans are actually hardwired for negativity. And welcome to everyone joining us. Hey, Tim. Hey, Courtney. Hey, Teresa. Great to see you. So we're naturally hardwired for negativity, which is kind of weird. So, but here's the thing. If we know that, if we understand that, we can trick our brain and start to kind of like counteract it. And so the simple act of literally sending a text and getting a warm and fuzzy response shifts our brain to focus on that positive. So instead of being like, oh, got a bad piece of email, a bad piece of feedback from the boss today, or I didn't close that deal, Or, it's the end of January and almost the end of January and I haven't crushed my goals for the year already. Instead of focusing on those negative things, you're going to be like, oh, Joanne thinks I'm super organized, or like Milo says that I'm the most motivating person in my team. Like, that's kind of cool. And your brain is going to latch onto that for a minute. But I want you all to hold on to that for a little bit longer. So when you get that response, and by the way, if you've had a response, feel free to share in the chat what folks are saying, because we want to hear it. We want to cheer you on. If you've had a response, I want you to then screenshot it, right, on your phone. Hopefully you all know how to do that. It's hard to just explain. If you have an iPhone, you click both buttons on either side. Otherwise, Google it. But screenshot the positive feedback that you get. And then I want you to just, like, when you're having a rubbish day or when you feel yourself spiraling, you just want to go back to that, right? If you're using the Pep Talker app, which is free, you can upload the photo into that app as well. If you don't have the app, that's fine. You can just keep the screenshot somewhere. And it's almost going to be like the start of a kudos file for you, right? Because I want you to have like this bank of all of this cool stuff that you've done at work, but also like cool pieces of feedback. Because here's the thing, as we start to like be brave and courageous and ask for positive feedback, or ask for some of that warm and fuzzy feedback from folks who love and trust and respect us, it gives those people permission to come to us when they need a pick me up. So that's kind of nice. But also it tells your brain it's okay for me to do this, right? And I want you to get comfortable asking for feedback. Sometimes it's going to be awesome positive feedback when you curate who you text, like these people who are your good mates. Sometimes it's going to be tough and it might be constructive. But here's the thing, you're here because you're super aspirational. I know that you're super smart. You're going places, right? Like tick, 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 obviously. Otherwise, you wouldn't be wasting your time. You might want to get paid more money. You might want to get promoted. You might want to get that title that candidly you've been owed for a long time. But the reality is that you're going places. And as you get more senior, as you get more impressive, as that paycheck gets bigger and bigger, I wish it was easy and just click your fingers and it's done, but there's like work that has to happen to get there, right? And part of that is you showing up as someone who's kind of open, receptive, and like actively seeking that feedback. So I don't want you to start for the first time like asking feedback from the most senior person in your organization, because that's a bit scary and a bit bananas as the first step. So that's why we're doing these baby steps. Like, we're starting here. And then as we go along and as we partner with each other and as you learn more and more through this week, you'll see that you'll actually grow in confidence to be able to ask, tougher questions from more and more people as you go along. And you know what's so interesting? A lot of the folks, I personally have a handful of one-on-one executive coaching clients, and my team coaches a lot of executives. And one of the things that a lot of them end up doing is actually starting their team meetings with something that's kind of similar to the Goosebumps challenge that you're all doing now. It's similar, but it's just the kudos minute, right? And they just start the meeting saying, hey, just want to open the space to see who wants to give anyone else a high five, right, in the team. Because, here's a piece of feedback that I got from a really early mentor. It's so simple. He was like, Maggie, it's really nice to be nice. And I was like, well, that's a bit of a like Hallmark card. What? But when you think about it, it's like, it is nice to be nice. And so much, so often we don't stop, firstly, to pay forward nice kudos and high five other people in our teams. And also to take a moment to be like, yeah, look, what is my best strength? Let me hear that from other people. Let me accept that compliment. Let me accept that affirmation. Because the more that you can accept that about yourself, the easier it's then going to be for you to have that self-belief, such that when you go in to negotiate, when you go in to have these conversations about your career, about your pay, which we're going to talk about over the next couple of days, it's going to be so much easier, right? Because you spent the time investing in yourself here, so that you're truly going to radiate that self-belief that, yeah, these are my strengths. I am amazing. It's not just my friends who think that, it's also these other people. And I want you to take that with you into those conversations and into your whole attitude at work, as we'll talk about in the coming days. Cecilia's just said the kudos minute in her team meeting, they call it a shout out. Yeah, exactly. That kind of thing, right? Just like really leaning into that and role modeling that as well. So that's the task for today. Super simple. Send a text. If you've just joined us, all you have to do is send a text to someone who you love, trust, and respect. Hey, I'm at this seminar. They've asked me to send a message with one question. What would you say is my biggest strength? Let me know with an emoji if you've had a response and what folks have been saying in response to you. The other thing that we know from a neuropsychology perspective is when we spend the minute or 30 seconds, 90 seconds it takes to send this text, it actually focuses our brain. So instead of being like this about stuff, all of a sudden we're like, oh, okay, the blinkers come off a little bit and I'm kind of open. My reticular activating system is open to hearing this positive feedback about myself, to accepting the fact that I am making a big contribution. I do have these strengths. So, the pure act of being open to hearing that, open to accepting that, I hope is going to change your perception and change what you start to hear and listen to over the next couple of days. So, we've had a few people. Anyone had a response? If you want to be brave and share your response in the chat, I would love that. Hello to everyone joining us from all around the world. Wow, there's so many people here. This is cool. So this is awesome. Someone's had a piece of feedback. Your confidence. You are fierce, even if sometimes you're faking it. You present yourself in a confident manner. And I would love to know, is that what you would have said about yourself? Because sometimes people get texts and they're like, oh yeah, that's totally me. And sometimes my clients are like, I actually didn't know that. I didn't know people perceived me in that way. And one of the things that I'll talk to you about later in the week is a program that we run, the Career Level Up program, which helps really cement a lot of these learnings even further. And in fact, the first module is all about like trying to understand what are your core strengths. Because the reality is that there's people in this room that are way better at some stuff than me, and I'm way better than you at some stuff. And you're actually not competing with anyone, right? Because your set of strengths are totally unique to you. So that's what we do in the first module of the course, which is super cool. My dependability, love that. Your dedication, ability to jump in and learn new material. See, that's awesome, Jen. Like, it's interesting. You might think that that's very easy, but for other folks, that seems like rocket science. So it's really great to understand and identify these awesome strengths. I want to give a shout out. If you've got questions, by the way, pop them in the chat. I try and keep these calls super snappy because I know you all are busy. You've got work to do, Netflix to watch, etc. So we'll be back at the same time every day. I try and keep it to under 15 minutes, but I'll stay on if folks have got questions. Here for you. I'm ready to answer them. I wanted to also introduce you to someone on the call. Hello, Margarita, who's joining us from Sydney. I wanted you to meet Margarita because, here we go. Hi, good to see you. You're
Hi,
now
Maggie.
screen.
Hi,
How
everyone.
are
Thanks for
you?
having me.
Yeah, I love that background, by the way. So Margarita went through our program, I guess 2 years ago now. Was it
Yeah,
18 months,
gosh.
maybe?
That
Yeah.
went quickly.
Yeah, and I wanted you to meet everyone today because I think sometimes people are like, what's the point of this challenge? What's the point of the course that Maggie does if folks want to join down the track?
Mm,
So I like people to meet graduates. Like, we don't prepare this, by the way. I just like people to introduce people who are in their Pep Talker community for you all to get to meet them. Also to ask them questions in the chat off the record if you want to. Like, Margarita, after you went through the challenge and then you went through the program, like what was the one thing that really shifted for you, would you say?
sure. That's a good question. So aside from, of course, the wonderful community that I've met through the program, there's three things that come to mind that have been really useful for me in working with Maggie. So one was, we did a session on saboteurs. That was really good
Yeah,
because now
imposter
I'm
syndrome.
so aware and I can
Yeah.
catch myself. For example, if I'm about to say no to an opportunity because I'm really nervous about it, or I think I'm just not experienced enough, like all those little things that you probably do unconsciously, you're just a little bit more aware of it. And I've said no to more, I guess, excitingly terrifying things in the last year. So that was lovely. The next was the Pep Talker app. I've been using it to just log some of the little wins that came in really handy during my performance review or even the times when work was really tough. It's like a nice resilience journal almost of, well, actually, I've got all these wins in the last year. And then the third one was just negotiating. I actually asked Maggie if she could speak one of our events, and
That's right.
Maggie was out of her budget, but she said you said no in the nicest way possible. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm stealing so much of that in the future so that I don't, I stop giving away things for free, but I don't have
Awesome.
to worry about people not liking me
Yeah.
just because of the way I've written my no email or
It's funny.
thanks, but let's talk more email.
Right. And actually we'll talk about, so we're actually, to your point around the negotiation piece, Margarita, we're going to do, well, I don't want to give too much away because I want all the challenges to be a surprise for you all, but there is a day on negotiation. So watch this space, keep an eye out on your email. If you haven't received the email, by the way, just you can just pop your email in the chat, or just DM it directly to me, and I'll make sure that we sort the back end email system for you. Because there's like 700 or 800 of us doing the challenge. So, inevitably some glitches might happen, hopefully not. But there is a day I'm negotiating this week. And, it's similarly to the whole like accepting praise. To Margarita's point, the Pep Talker app is cool and it's free, by the way. So it is a shout out to the app, but it's totally free. So it doesn't cost you anything to use it. It's just about like, I'm going to talk to you about this a lot. You're probably going to get sick of it, but it's like stretching the muscle. So I always use this example of like, if I wanted to get massive biceps at the gym, and I know if I just do this for 2 days, like, okay, that's cute, but nothing's going to happen. Versus if I do this for 10 minutes a day, every day for 10 weeks or 10 months or 10 years, before you know it, I'm the female Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Like I'm totally ripped. And so it's kind of the same like thing that we want to apply to your mindset when it comes to your career, your self-worth, your perception of what it takes to negotiate, right? So yeah, we'll start to flex that muscle, to Margarita's point a little bit. I think it's day 3. Again, don't want to give too much away, but I think it's on day 3 we'll start to do that. And then yeah, some of the other thing that Margarita mentioned was like the reframing of language around apologizing, around asking, around also like continuing the conversation. Because by the way, sometimes you're going to ask for a pay raise and they're going to say, no, nah, it's not happening. Right. So there's things though that you can do to navigate that. Just because it's a no, it's just a no. It's just a like not right now. It's not no forever. Right. So we'll talk a little bit about it in the challenge of how to negotiate that. And we dive into that in a lot more detail in the Career Level Up program around how do you actually navigate that? And how do you pivot that no, that rejection into a total redirection? Right. And Margarita, I think you had that with your career, right? To an extent, some of the things that you were able to negotiate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, part of the scary bit was just making the ask. This year, I during performance review, I ran through all the things that we achieved together
Yeah.
as a team, and then I just said, "Look, would you be willing to sponsor my coaching?" Which is Maggie's coaching, and yeah, they were like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah.
And
I
there was
love it.
so much angst like in the weeks before that, thinking, "Oh
Before
God, they're gonna
asking.
say no."
And then they
But
just signed it off because
yeah, they were just like, yeah, all right, send me the link and let's get this out now.
let's do it. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, Margarita. And thank you for being here. And by the way, there's all these, I didn't realize we've got Cecilia here. We've got Riley here. We've got quite a few graduates from the program who I knew Margarita was coming. I didn't know the others were going to be here. So thank you to Margarita. It's so nice to see you. And thanks to everyone else for joining as well. If you've got other questions, let me know. If you've got questions for Margarita, you can DM her in the chat. I won't even see the questions. So you can speak directly to her. But yeah, it's like sometimes we just, and it's also, we'll talk about this later, but it's like we've been socialized often as women, to want to be people pleasers. Hand up if there's any fellow people pleasers in the room. We do an assessment specifically around that in the course. Yes, I hear you. I'm right there with you. And that's okay, right? So there's things that we can do so that we still feel aligned with our values and we still don't feel like we're being arrogant or whatever. But to Margarita's point, we still ask the question and we still get the results that we're looking for, whether that's a pay raise, whether that's compensation for professional development, coaching, extra vacation, whatever that looks like. So we'll talk a little bit about some of those like more creative things that you can ask for as well. But if you've got questions, hit me up in the chat. Jen, do you have oh yeah, just talking about people pleaser. Yes, love it. Carolina's a recovering people pleaser. Totally hear you. I would say that probably most people on this call have a little bit of that in them. It's very common, particularly in women. And we also talk about imposter syndrome a little bit in the challenge, but we dive into that in a lot more detail in the course as well. So all I need you to do today is to focus on the fact that there are so many people out there who rate what you are doing, who think that you are amazing, and who love the strength that you bring, not just to your friendships and your family, but to the workplace as well. There's always going to be haters in our career. It's okay. What I want you to focus on is the people who love, trust, and respect you personally and also professionally. Those folks are who I want you to lean into. They're the opinions we want to really double down on, and we want to get their feedback. We want to hold on to that, screenshot it, store it somewhere so that you've got that kudos file, whether it's the Pep Talker app or something else to refer back to when you're having those spiral moments, which we all have, by the way. That's all I want you to focus on today. It's not going to solve the problems of the world today, but we're going to have it stacked throughout the week, throughout the 5-day challenge. And you're going to see, you're going to start to feel literally a shift, right? We have people who go through this challenge who end up saving hundreds of dollars through our negotiation challenge, plus making more money in a few different ways, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, I'm just so excited to have you all here. Let me know in the chat if you can, like, what's the one word that sums up how you're feeling after our very brief interaction? Like, what's one word that you're going to take with you after this call today? Or you can jump off of mute if you want. Jen, you're like the first video that I'm seeing. What's coming up for you? I'm just like massively picking on you because I can see you in my video. I don't know if Jen wants to jump off of chat, or Rachel, you're my second video. Alyssa's feeling hopeful. Caroline is ready. Bianca's optimistic. Yes. Excited, motivated, inspired. Awesome, TJ. I love that pick, by the way. Love that. Really cool. Really, really, really cool. If anyone has any questions specifically, it's a funny time of the year, isn't it? January. It's an opportunity for us to really reset, not just our own mindset, but also how we want others to treat us. And one of the things that I had to learn at work was we actually have to treat people how to treat us, right? And people learn. You probably have, I want you to have a think about, is there someone at work who just does not take any shit? Who's like, nah, they're not answering calls after. They put in place boundaries, quite strict. And some people might think that they're like not a hard worker, not a team player. And other people are just kind of like, wow, respect. Like they don't, you can't really muck around with them, right? Because they've got very strict boundaries. Whether or not they're a hard worker, I don't know. I don't work with them. But what I want to just pay kudos to is the fact that they're very clear on what their boundaries are. And one of the things I want you to think about throughout this week is, are other people clear on what your boundaries are? Or are you in a situation where, because of the way that we're socialized as women and because of our people-pleasing tendencies, perhaps we don't, we're not as clear as we could be on those boundaries. And we haven't necessarily treated people how to treat us yet, as well as we would like to. Right. And again, that's not something that I can click my fingers and fix for you right now, but it's something that I want you to consider this week and just start to observe what happens with other people in the workplace this week. When they get an email, when there's a Slack or a team message, how are other folks responding? And I just want you to kind of observe that and just see, what do you like? What do you respect? What do you not appreciate? Like, where do you want to sit on that spectrum? Because there's no right or wrong answer, but it is an interesting thing to observe and just to start to think, like, where do I sit on that spectrum? Have I taught people how I expect them to treat me? Have I made it clear what my boundaries are? And also, am I making it clear what my expectations are of other folks as well? Jen's got 2 words after today's session. It's time. I love it. Nervous but hopeful, empowered, motivated, eager. Great. This is the energy. We're going to take this big salary energy, this big excitement energy into the rest of the week. And indeed, it's my hope the rest of the year. There's a lot of challenges at work, right? But I want you to know that you're surrounded right now by 50 or 60 people joining us live. There's another 600 or 700 who are going to catch up on the recording. There's a lot of other people who are just like you, right? They're super motivated. They're super excited. Maybe they're at a roadblock right now. Maybe they've hit a stumbling block. Maybe they're just like feeling they taken advantage of, or maybe they're just sick of not being paid enough. Whatever your reason for being here, I just want you to know that you're not alone, that this is a community. I'm here for you. My team's here for you. The other colleagues in the challenge are here for you as well. My team's going to pop a link to the Facebook group in the chat. If you don't have Facebook, it's totally fine. If you do, if you want to join the group, that's great. You can upload some screenshots of the feedback that you've received into the chat, into the Facebook group if you want. There is a prize at the end of the challenge. My team keep tabs on who comes to the live calls, who posted in the Facebook group that they've done the challenge, and then we kind of tally that up. So at the end of the week, they draw out of a hat the people that have the most number of points or whatever, and then they give someone a scholarship to the program. So that's the kind of, if you're in the competitive spirit, that's another option for you too. But yeah, we will put, here we go. Thank you, Kim. Kim's put the link to the Facebook group here. You can join that as well. I think there's 2,000 or 3,000 folks in that group too who've done our challenges in the past. So again, you can connect with other people, right? It's really, I remember I found it lonely in my career earlier on when I was when I hit a roadblock, or when I wasn't sure how much to ask for money-wise, or when I had a dispute with my employer, I felt really lonely. I didn't know who to go to. I couldn't afford a lawyer. I didn't know what to do, right? And so the reason that I started this business was to kind of, collate all of these people in the one place so that we can crowdsource a lot of that knowledge that I know a lot of you have lived through or experienced, and that now we have experience with as well. So such a pleasure to be here with you all today. We'll be back same time tomorrow. Any questions, just hit reply on the email. Kim and I read every single email that comes through. So you will get a response from us. We want to support you this week. Let me know what your texts say. And yeah, we'll be back same time tomorrow for day 2 of the challenge. As I said, these are supposed to be snappy. I'm supposed to finish after 15 minutes. I've gone a little long, but you can jump off at any point. If you've got questions, bring those again tomorrow too. And yeah, here to support you for the rest of the week. Really looking forward to it. See you all. Nice to meet you. Thanks again, Margarita. See you, Carol. Thanks, Elenita.
No
Bye
worries. Bye,
again.
everyone. Bye, Maggie.
Bye. Thanks, Samantha. See ya. Bye, Carolina. Cheers.